For more than 1,000 years, we thought we knew our place in the universe. It was simple, really. We were at the very center of everything. It felt like common sense, it was taught as absolute fact, and it was completely wrong. So today, we're going to dive into the incredible story of how one man with one new invention pointed at the sky and forever changed how we see the cosmos and ourselves.
And that's the big question, isn't it? How on earth does a single person manage to overturn a belief system that had stood strong for 14 centuries? To really get it, we first have to understand the two big ideas that were locked in this epic battle for the truth. All right, so in one corner, you've got the geocentric model. This was the heavyweight champion for 1,400 years. The idea here is that a stationary Earth is at the center, and everything else, the sun, the moon, all the planets, they all circle around us in these really complicated looping paths. Then, in the other corner, you have this radical new contender, the heliocentric model, first really pushed by Copernicus. This model puts the sun at the center and has Earth and the other planets orbiting it. So much simpler, so much more elegant. One model was accepted reality, the other was basically heresy.
To really appreciate what Galileo was up against, we need to step back in time. We need to understand the world he was trying to change, this 1,400-year-old vision of the universe. This wasn't just some abstract theory. For people back then, this was reality itself.
So, this model everyone believed in, it was called the Ptolemaic system, named after the astronomer Ptolemy, who laid it all out way back around 150 AD. And it was incredibly clever for its time. It used this complex system of orbits within orbits, they call them epicycles, to explain all the weird movements of the planets, like when they seem to go backward in the sky. It was complicated, for sure, but for over a millennium, it was treated as gospel.
And you know, the main reason this idea stuck around for so long is that it just felt right. It matched what you see and feel every single day. I mean, the ground beneath your feet feels pretty solid and still, right? You don't feel like you're whipping through space at thousands of miles an hour. And when you look up day or night, you literally watch the sun, the moon, and the stars circle around you. So this Ptolemaic system wasn't just an idea, it seemed like an observable fact.
But then, in the early 1600s, this new invention comes along and changes everything. It was basically a spyglass meant for seeing ships far out at sea. But in the hands of a guy named Galileo Galilei, it became a window into a whole new universe.
So what does Galileo do? He builds his own, much more powerful telescope and points it up. And almost immediately, the old ideas start to crack. First up, the moon. The ancient Greeks thought that it was a perfect, smooth sphere. But Galileo saw it was rough and uneven, covered with mountains and valleys and craters, just like Earth. Then he looks at the sun and sees spots, imperfections moving across its surface. Boom, another hit against the idea of perfect, unchanging heavens.
But those were just the opening shots. Galileo was about to uncover the piece of evidence, the smoking gun that would blow the old model to pieces and change astronomy forever.
Okay, so picture this. It's January 7th, 1610. Galileo is looking at Jupiter, and he notices 3 little stars nearby, all in a nice straight line. Interesting. But then he keeps looking, night after night, and he sees that these stars are moving. But wait a second. They're not wandering off, they're moving with Jupiter. By the 15th, he'd even spotted a 4th one, and it hit him. These aren't stars, they're moons, and they are orbiting Jupiter. This was huge. It was proof right there in his eyepiece that not everything in the universe revolved around the Earth.
Now, the moons of Jupiter. That was a powerful blow to the old system, but it wasn't the final knockout punch. No, there was one more discovery to come. One observation so clear, so undeniable, that the old Ptolemaic model had absolutely no way to explain it. This was Galileo's checkmate.
And it all came down to the planet Venus. See, in the old Earth-centered model, Venus is always stuck somewhere between us and the sun. That means, from our point of view, we should only ever be able to see it as a thin crescent, kind of like a sliver of the moon. But that is not what Galileo saw. When he looked through his telescope, he saw Venus go through a full set of phases. Crescent, half, gibbous, the whole shebang, just like our moon does.
And that, right there, was the smoking gun. There is only one way for Venus to show all those phases. It has to be orbiting the sun. Sometimes it's on the near side of the sun from us, and other times it swings all the way around to the far side. This observation didn't just poke a hole in the Ptolemaic system, it proved it was fundamentally wrong. It was the final nail in the coffin.
So, Galileo has the evidence. Case closed. Revolution over, right? Well, not so fast. Proving something with science is one thing.
Convincing the world's most powerful institutions is a whole different story. The fight was about to move from the observatory into the courtroom. So in 1632, Galileo lays all his cards on the table. He publishes this masterpiece, the dialogue concerning the two chief world systems. And it's brilliant. He writes it as a conversation between three people. Now, officially, he's just presenting both sides, but let's be real, it's totally obvious who wins the argument. Galileo's character just calmly and systematically dismantles every argument for the old Earth-centered universe. This book was everything he'd been working toward, and it's what got him into so much trouble.
And this one quote from the book just perfectly sums up his whole philosophy. One character is arguing for the old way, saying the heavens must be perfect and unchanging, because that's what the ancient philosophers said. And Galileo's character basically replies, "It's better to say heaven can be changed because my own eyes tell me it can." The message was clear. What we can actually observe and prove has to be more important than what people believed 1,000 years ago.
Well, the response was not good. In 1633, Galileo was hauled before the Inquisition in Rome, tried for heresy, and forced to publicly renounce his own work. He was sentenced to house arrest for the rest of his life, and he died in 1642. And while his ideas, his revolution, kept spreading, his official vindication took an unbelievably long time. It wasn't until 1992, think about that, 1992, that the church formally admitted that it had made a mistake in condemning him.
Galileo's story is just such a powerful reminder that scientific truth isn't decided by popular vote or by how long we've believed something. It's decided by evidence. And it really makes you wonder, right? What ideas that we all accept as common sense today are maybe just one new discovery, one new piece of technology away from being completely overturned? What are we taking for granted as the center of our universe?